There is a moment in life that almost no one prepares you for. It doesn't arrive with noise. It doesn't come with a clear explanation. And it certainly doesn't announce itself in a way that makes sense right away. But if you are paying attention, you can feel it. Something inside you begins to change. Not dramatically at first, not in a way that others can see, but quietly, almost like a shift in gravity. The things that once excited you start to feel strangely distant. Conversations that once felt meaningful begin to feel repetitive. Places that once felt familiar suddenly feel temporary. And the strangest part is, nothing on the outside may have changed yet. Your job might still be the same. Your routine might still look the same. Your life, from the perspective of others, might appear completely normal. But inside, something is rearranging itself. And when that happens, most people become uncomfortable. They assume something must be wrong. They think they are losing direction. They think they are becoming unmotivated. They think they are somehow falling behind everyone else. But what if the truth is something very different? What if that strange feeling of disconnection is not confusion? What if it is a transition? A transition between timelines? Because here is something most people never realize about life. Your life does not unfold along a single, fixed path. It moves through versions, different layers of experience that correspond to different versions of who you are. And every time your identity shifts, your timeline shifts with it. You may still wake up in the same room. You may still walk the same street. But the reality you are living in begins to change. Your perception changes. Your energy changes. The kinds of opportunities that appear in your life begin to change. This is what it means to move into a new timeline. But here is the part that confuses people. When a timeline shift begins, it rarely feels exciting at first. It feels uncertain. It can even feel like things are slowing down. There may be moments when your life becomes quieter than it has ever been. The momentum you were used to may disappear. The direction you thought you understood may dissolve. And in that silence, many people assume they are stuck. But silence does not mean nothing is happening. Silence often means something important is reorganizing. Imagine a forest just before spring arrives. For months, everything appears still. The trees are bare. The air is cold. The ground seems lifeless. But beneath the surface of the soil, millions of microscopic processes are preparing the next season. Roots are strengthening. Nutrients are being redistributed. Life is reorganizing itself for growth. Your life works in the same way. Before a new timeline becomes visible, there is always a period of internal preparation. Old beliefs begin dissolving. Old emotional patterns begin releasing. Old identities that once defined you start to fall away. And that process can feel deeply uncomfortable because identity is something the human mind clings to, even when that identity no longer fits. Many people continue living inside a timeline that their soul has already outgrown. They stay in environments that limit them. They stay in conversations that no longer nourish them. They stay in versions of themselves that were built for survival, not expansion. And over time, this creates a quiet tension inside the body, a sense that something about life feels misaligned. You may still be functioning, but you are no longer flowing. And eventually, that tension becomes impossible to ignore. You begin questioning things you never questioned before. Why am I doing this? why does this feel empty? Why does my life look fine from the outside, but feel different on the inside? These questions are not signs of failure. They are signs of awakening, because the moment you start questioning the life you have been living, you begin stepping toward a new timeline. But there is a stage in this process that many people misunderstand. It is the stage where the old timeline begins to dissolve before the new one fully appears. This stage can feel confusing. Relationships may change. Habits that once felt automatic may suddenly feel forced. You may find yourself withdrawing from environments that once felt normal, not because you dislike them, but because your energy no longer resonates with them. It is like switching to a different radio frequency. The station you used to listen to is still playing, but you are no longer tuned into it. And this is where many people panic, because the human mind loves certainty. It wants a clear map. It wants to know exactly where things are going. But timeline shifts rarely come with maps. They come with intuition, a quiet inner knowing that something about your life is changing, and that knowing asks you to trust something that is invisible, that is difficult for the logical mind, but it is natural for the soul. The soul understands cycles. It understands that growth often requires leaving something behind. Just like a snake must shed its skin to continue growing, you must sometimes release entire versions of yourself. And this does not mean your past was wrong. Every timeline you have lived served a purpose. Every version of you was necessary for the stage you were in. But evolution requires movement. You cannot remain in the same identity forever. The person you were 5 years ago was preparing you for the person you are today. And the person you are today is preparing you for someone even greater. But that transformation requires courage, because moving into a new timeline means letting go of familiarity. It means stepping away from patterns that once felt safe. It means trusting that even though you cannot yet see the full picture, something meaningful is unfolding. And when you begin to trust that process, something remarkable starts to happen. Life begins to respond differently to you. The kinds of conversations you have begin to change. The kinds of people who enter your life begin to change. The kinds of opportunities that appear begin to change, not because the universe suddenly decided to reward you, but because you are now aligned with a different timeline. You are operating from a different frequency of identity, and reality reorganizes around identity. This is something ancient wisdom traditions have always understood. Your external life reflects your internal state. When your internal world changes, your external reality eventually follows. But here is something important to remember. Timeline shifts rarely happen all at once. They happen through small decisions, small acts of courage, small moments where you choose growth instead of comfort. You choose honesty instead of pretending. You choose alignment instead of approval. Each of these decisions moves you slightly closer to your new timeline. And over time, those small decisions accumulate until one day you wake up and realize something incredible. Your life feels different, not necessarily easier, but more authentic, more aligned, more reflective of who you truly are. And when you look back at the moment when everything began shifting, you realize something surprising. The confusion you felt was not confusion at all. It was transformation. The silence you experienced was not emptiness. It was preparation. The things that left your life were not losses. They were openings. Openings for experiences that could not enter your life until you became the person capable of receiving them. This is what it means to move into a new timeline. It is not about escaping your past. It is about expanding beyond it. It is not about becoming someone completely different. It is about becoming more fully yourself. And if you are watching this right now, there is a chance you are already standing at the edge of that transition. Maybe life feels different lately. Maybe certain things no longer resonate the way they used to. Maybe you feel like you are standing between two versions of your life. If that is where you are, do not rush the process. Some of the most important transformations in life happen slowly, just like a sunrise. At first the sky barely changes, then a faint light appears on the horizon, and before you realize it, the entire world is illuminated. Your timeline shift works in the same way. The change begins subtly, but its impact becomes enormous over time. And one day, you will look around at the life you are living. You will notice the people who surround you. You will notice the peace you feel within yourself. You will notice the opportunities that seem to appear naturally. And you will realize something profound. This life did not appear by accident. It emerged because you had the courage to become someone new. So if you feel like your life is shifting right now, do not resist it. Do not rush to fill the silence. Do not panic when certain things fall away. Sometimes life removes what no longer belongs so that your next timeline has space to appear. And if this message found you at the exact moment you have been questioning everything, take a deep breath, pause for a moment, and ask yourself one simple question. What kind of life is the next version of me trying to create? Because that version of you already exists, not in some distant future, but as a possibility waiting to be chosen. And every decision you make from this moment forward either keeps you in the old timeline or moves you into the new one. So choose consciously, choose courage, choose the life that feels aligned with the deepest truth inside you.